Good afternoon to everybody, and welcome to the third session of the course Introduction to Campus Sustainability. The topic of the session today is green infrastructure and will be held by Ana Macias, who is the president of the association Arbocity. The title of the conference is Urban Forest and Trees Outside Forest, Thinking Beyond Tree Planting. Well, Ana, let me introduce Ana. Ana is a forestry engineer with a PhD in urban forestry. She is the president of Arbocity, and she also collaborates at the Urban Forestry Research Group in the Forestry School at Universidad Politécnica de Madrid. Her work focuses on urban forests, ecosystem services, and in the use of citizen science and visualization to improve communication in urban green infrastructure management and planning. As we said, Arbocity is the association is a no-profit association dedicated to disseminating the benefits of the urban forest and the importance of its care and management. Arbocity gathers together professionals, researchers, and academics from the fields of forestry and urban forestry. Sorry for my voice. Arbocity supports local governments, private sector, and citizens, bringing to them and developing technological solutions, new management and ecosystem evaluation methodologies, and citizen science and environmental education initiatives. You can have more information in the website of Arbocity that I can put here in the chat. And so Ana, if you, when you want, you can start. You can share your screen, and we are listening to you.
Thank you, Francesca. Hello, everybody. So as Francesca said, I want to talk to you about what urban forests are, what trees outside forests are, and also thinking what happens after we plant those trees in the city. I would like to, I can't, there we are. I would like to focus now and really insist on what can trees do for us and what are the things we can do to manage them, to plant them, so we we maximize those benefits. And also at the end, I want to talk to you about what Arbocity is and give you some ideas of projects that we're doing that are very aligned with this using green infrastructure in cities to improve our health being and improving our cities. So what are urban forests and trees outside forest and green infrastructure? Because we keep on hearing all these terms that seems to be very similar, but they have some slightly different nuances. And so when we talk about the urban forest, we are talking about all the trees that are inside the city. That includes street trees, trees in gardens, trees in parks, trees along waterways. When there's a river crossing the city, those trees along the riverside, that's also part of the urban forest. And then really the main concept here is that we think about all those trees together in the city as a whole. So we plan them together the same way you would plan, I don't know, like the electric grid or the water pipe system in a city. You think about the urban forest as a whole. So you think about concepts like the geographical distribution of trees, so everybody has access to them. You think about the population, like in an ecosystem, like the curve of ages and the species distribution. So it's that global idea. Instead of focusing in park by park or one street at a time, you take one step aside and you think about the global picture, all the urban forest of a city. It's important not to confuse that with, sometimes we talk about urban and peri-urban forest. That would be forested areas that are around the city, but those like when we put the article in front of it is when we talk about all those trees in one urban space, no? And it's got some overlap with what trees outside forest are. The term, sorry, also my voice is doing funny things. Trees outside forest are all the trees that are not included in a forest. So it's like a, like a cow's box where we put everything that doesn't belong to a forest. And that includes, trees that are in cities, trees alongside roads, trees on the hedges of agricultural crops, all those trees that don't really belong to anybody or they're not really connected with anything. We put them in that box. And for many years, there has been like this sort of forgetting about them because they're not important. But lately, especially I think in the European Union, the concept of green infrastructure has become with a great push. And what it means is that now all natural spaces or spaces with vegetation and together, sometimes we think about green and blue infrastructure, all this network of natural spaces with water and with vegetation, we think about them like a network. So everything is really connected. And suddenly those trees outside forests become like connectors, like green corridors that connect those nodes, like protected areas, forested areas, national parks, and also the different urban forests of the different cities. So now we think about all these, we think we take one step behind, no, even farther, and we think about all these network of natural spaces, both in urban areas and in natural areas, and how they connect and how they intercommunicate. Which is, I think it's also a little bit a matter of fashion, no, and what is more trendy or not, but it's got a conceptual, push behind it about thinking globally, not thinking, thinking locally and at the same time thinking globally, which I think, in this world now makes sense because all decisions are, especially in the environmental field, are really interconnected. So why do we really want trees in our city? Are they so important? What do they do for us? So I think you've heard a lot the term of ecosystem services. And that's really another way of thinking about the benefits of those trees and what they do for us. Traditionally, when we talk about ecosystem services, they are always divided into provision, regulation, and cultural. But we can, break those terms and that terminology, which is mainly academic, and we can think about really what they do for us. They have an impact on climate change mitigation and adaptation because they cool the air, they absorb CO2, they filter urban pollutants, atmospheric pollutants, and they can also regulate storm water and filter, clean that water before it goes into rivers and natural streams. They also give us, as I said, no provision ecosystem services. They give us things directly. They give us good fuels, which might be not as important in Europe for us, but in other parts of the world, that's the main thing. They provide food for us. And they also have benefits that we sometimes don't think about, but they have a great impact in our health, in our mental health, in our physical health, and also in our economy, because streets with trees, business earn more money. They are nicer for people to walk around, people spend more time in them, and those areas they improve. They improve their economic activity, and also the houses, they improve their monetary value. And you might think, well, you're talking all the time about what trees are good for humans, but trees are not only good for us or when we think about the environment, we can't just be so selfish that we only see trees as utilitarian means for us to improve our life. And there used to be, this idea that you have to, that there's going to be a trade-off, that you always have to think about what's good for us and what's good for the environment. But in reality, the way that climate change has shifted things and has made us think about how we have to change cities and we have to include green infrastructure in the urban network. We really are working all in the same direction, because we as humans, we need trees in our cities because we need healthy spaces that are not polluted, that are not as hot in the summer, so we can combat that heat waves that are killing people. We also need those green spaces for our mental health and physical health. We need that, reduce that stress. We need to build communities. We need those common spaces that are very important for us to interact with other people and to connect with nature, because we're animals that need that. And if we think in economic terms, there's also a lot of studies that say that every dollar you put into a tree, it gives you back double. It gives you back 2 point something dollars back in all these benefits, in the ones that we can value and monetize, which are not all of them. So suddenly everything is aligned, because we need trees also, for biodiversity, for the urban fauna, for pollinators. We need that nature in a city, not just for us, but for the environment, for creating green corridors, for creating, connectors, and all the interests are aligned. There's no opposition anymore. So we just have to put trees in the city. So any trees work? Is there anyone specific that are best or not, or what can we do? So there's a big debate about should we use autochthonous species or not? And I think there's not black or white here. The answer is that you have to use the trees that are going to grow better in the local conditions you are. And talking about autochthonous species in like the hardcore center of a city, which is an environment that's dramatically different from that outside of the city, even if it's the same climatic region, even we're at the same altitude and latitude, the gray infrastructure changes completely the environment in which that tree is going to grow. The soil in urban areas, which now has like a specific name in ethology, it's called the urba soil. It's completely different to that you will find in, like in geological maps. So it makes no sense that we talk, or like we're very, very strict in terms of using autochthonous species, because we're putting them in a medium that's completely alien to them. There's nothing to do with the natural environment. But we have to see it as a gradient. The more we move outside of that heart, let's center the heart of city, and we go towards, the perimeter, we go outside of the city, then we have to start thinking more about autochthonous species. And why? Well, first, because that media is going to be have more resemblance with the natural environment. So now those species are more suitable. Also because the fauna and the autochthonous species will be able, from pollinators or birds, will be able to communicate better and enter that area. So they need those autochthonous species, which are the ones that provide them food and seeds and a place to live. And also because in that areas, especially in the fringe, in the urban-rural interface, if we use species that could be, invasive, or they could migrate easily to the natural environment. So it's really a gradient in which we move to, species that are very suitable to the core of the city, and then we move towards, as I said, everything is connected, everything is part of this green infrastructure, And we have to see all as a whole and as a gradient, not a black and white, no? There's not a line in which we are talking about the urban forest and then towards that line, then it's a green corridor. It's all a gradient. And now we have chosen the species. So which one do we put where? So in this case, there's a correlation in between the size of the tree and the benefits they provide. And to have larger trees, we need to plant species that are big, you know, when they grow. And also we have to let them grow. They have to reach maturity. The problem is that trees take a long time to grow. You know, humans, we have a temporal framework in which we work, in which we move, in which we vote for municipal election, which is much shorter than the lifespan of the tree. So a tree might take 50, 80 years to grow, but you know, the major and the municipal team is going to change every 4 years. So it's very tricky to convince people to, you know, make decisions that are going to look good or that are going to be good for the city in 50 years time in the future. But we really have to do that. We are planting now, not the trees for us, but we're planting the trees for the future generations. And if we don't ensure that those trees are planted in conditions that they're going to live longer, they're going to live, you know, more than the infrastructure around them. We change the pavement all the time, and the telephone lines and electric lines and the gas pipes, but we have to do all that. That's changing every, you know, you think about, you know, when was the last time that they opened up the street in front of your house? Not a lot of time ago. So, but we have to figure out how to grow the city around those trees. We have to think about trees as, you know, pivotal elements that they have to remain. If we need mature trees, we have to protect them and we have to plan our city around them. So what is the work that I do that have, you know, a little bit of impact on what we do and why am I talking about this? So we created Arbor-City as a way of connecting a little bit what was being done in the university with what the people were working in the field. So because we saw that the tree managers, the people that were, you know, managing trees and making decisions, they didn't have the time and they didn't have really, you know, the opportunity to be reading academic papers or the latest report done from, you know, a European project. They were doing what they could with the resources that they had. And on the other hand, there was being like a big revolution and there was being like a huge impact on publications and on projects and on research in the field of urban forestry, not only in Europe, but globally, you know, thinking about how to include green infrastructure in cities and how to make trees more adapted and, you know, the impact of climate change that was going to have on them. But we were not talking with each other, you know? It was the academics doing their thing and then the tree managers doing whatever they could. So we thought, well, there's got to be a way of connecting this. Why don't we create sort of a bridge so we can talk together? It could be good also for researchers to understand what are the challenges that people, you know, on the field are experiencing so we can create solutions for them. And it's also very interesting for the people that are managing the trees to know about, you know, the latest discoveries and how the field is evolving and the theory is evolving, so they can, you know, use these solutions for their job. So Arbor-City tries that, you know, tries to be that bridge, and we have, you know, a great array of different ways in which we do that. We have created communication campaigns. So we collaborate with the university and research bodies in research projects. And we also go to the city halls and the municipalities and ask them for, you know, what do you need? How can we help? Have you known about this? Do you know this tool? And the way we do this is via different things. One, for example, I don't know if you know, program Three Cities of the World was created after the first World Urban Forestry Forum, and it was created by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, the FAO, and Arbor Day Foundation. Arbor Day Foundation is an American foundation that I don't think it's very known in Europe, but globally it's got a really, really big impact. And they were running this Three Cities USA program in the USA, and they said, why don't we bring it globally? And what they do is really, they have this recognition, or like, like a branding name that municipalities can put on their website to recognize that they're taking care and they're managing the urban forest in a right way. And the philosophy behind it is that it's got 5 principles, 5 very basic principles in which municipalities can take part of it. And it's very basic on purpose, which is one of the critiques. No, that there's a lot more behind. You get to those principles, and you have to do much more. You have to prove them correctly. You have to, and it's true. But if we were able to get all municipalities to meet those really basic principles, we were like ages in the future, ages ahead. It would be a great improvement. So it's this positive impact. It's free, and everybody can apply, like any municipalities, for municipalities. And they have another one for universities as well, for universities with urban forest. And it's that idea, pushing people towards in the good direction, but in a positive way. Now you get this recognition if you meet these criteria. Which are the criteria? The criteria are, you have an inventory, so you know what you have, how many trees you have and where they are. You have somebody who takes care of trees. It could be, urban forester, or it could be even a citizen board, a group of citizens that are, taking care of their urban trees. You have a budget, so you provide some resources to take care of those trees. You have some sort of tree policy or tree strategy in which you define the objectives, or what you have. You have the resources and the people to take care of it, and then you have an idea of where you want to go with your urban forest. What are you trying to achieve? And then you have some sort of communication campaign or day in which you celebrate and you explain to your citizens what you're doing and the urban forest you have and why it's important. So as you see, it's really basic 5 principles, but you would be surprised how many cities don't even have an inventory, or don't even have someone who is taking care of the trees. And they just work on like a, action-reaction basis. So whatever, there's a tree that's fall down there, we have some budget this year and we plant some trees. So it's very like that, there's no plan, no strategy. And it's a pity, because the urban forest is a fantastic and a really powerful tool to transform our cities. So if we plan it correctly, it could have a great impact in our lives. So we in Arbor City, we joined the team of the national partners. There's one in Canada, one in UK, one in Mexico, and one in Australia. And so far we meet once a year. We sort of help municipalities, and we spread the word about this program. Is basically what we do. I mean, it's been a great opportunity for us, being so little, to be able to be in the table with such big organizations, and to provide our little input or a little help into pushing something like that. Another thing we do, and for example yesterday, is that we actually plant trees. So we have to think beyond planting, but it's also good that we, in some areas, we still plant trees. And we do this sort of campaign, sometimes with volunteers. In this one, we were collaborating with some friends from Lignum Forestal, And it was in a very degraded area that was really hard to reforest because the soil was really, really, really poor. So we're trying, you know, again, this is a peri-urban area at the south of Madrid. So we're trying to improve the, you know, the life of those citizens that live around, creating this urban forest that in the future will be, you know, a fantastic area for biodiversity, for them to run, do some sports. We also provide some technical documents. This one we did with the London Tree Association, and it was a really great experience in which we went to them and we said, you know, we have been doing this work with visualizations as communication tools. Would you like some, you know, might you be interested in to getting some courses or you know, a document or manual how to create visualizations? And they said, you know what, we really don't have the time because we're very busy about, you know, creating visualizations ourselves. But what we are is we are really, really worried about the visualizations we are receiving that portray trees. We think that, you know, they use the trees to sort of manipulate images to make, you know, urban development to look better. They put trees in areas where they can't grow. They choose the wrong species, and we are not really trained into creating visualizations. We feel that we cannot really, you know, speak about them, you know, because they come to us and they say, "Wow, you don't know," and we say, "Well, why don't we create some sort of protocol for evaluating those visualizations and for, you know, providing some guidance and some sort of principles of how those visualizations should be created." And they were completely on board. We created this group of people from the different boroughs and Transport for London. And we did this document that it's free to download. You can download from the London Tree Officers Association webpage. And while you're there, you can look around because they have like really other very interesting documents about urban forestry and about you know, tree planting and that all sort of technical documents. So it's a great website for resources if you're interested. And this is a project we did with the Universidad Politécnica de Madrid last year. With the urban forestry research group, in which we did an I3 study. We did a evaluation of the ecosystem services of the urban forest of the university campus. And we did this communication campaign, which was really cheap. We put some labels, we hung them on the trees. They look like price tags. And that was the idea, no? Like, it's a price tag, but it's not really what the tree costs, it's what the tree is giving you back, no? What the benefits that you're getting from that tree. And it was really fun. We got a lot of feedback and a lot of interaction with people. We were really surprised, you know, with such a little thing, just hanging some paper labels on trees. And we got a lot of response from people looking at them. And that's it. I mean, I'm open for any questions you might have. If you want more information, you can always reach us at, you know, Arbocity or me directly. And I will be happy to, you know, offer some guidance or answer any questions if it's.
Thank you to all of us. So we will see again next Wednesday with another topic, and we will inform you before as usual. Thank you to everybody, and see you soon.